Welcome back, everybody, to Rob's MetalWorks. What a special, special day here in the studio as we welcome back Texas Music Hall of Famer, the legend, Mr. Jason McMaster. Sir, welcome back to the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
We are continuing, everyone out there, we are continuing a conversation that began back in 2020 in the throes of the pandemic, kind of.
Yeah.
And Jason is the first person we chose as part of our Legacy series, where we really kind of do a career retrospective of music artists who've had significant impact in our music scene. And we started, for some of you who've seen them already, in Jason's early beginnings in the Austin scene, in Watchtower, and then his transition to Dangerous Toys. And I think we got up all the way up until the recording of Pissed, which was Dangerous Toys' fourth record, or third record?
Third studio release.
Third studio.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we were discussing how there was a lot of transition happening at that time. You guys left the label, Columbia Records, went to record. There were some transitions in the lineup. And I think that's kind of where we left off.
Okay.
Wanting to get
we can start there.
Paul Lydell into the lineup from Dirty Looks.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously a band that you love and respect.
Oh, yeah.
And we talked about Max Norman a little bit, and who recorded Dirty Looks.
And the first Toys record.
Yep. And Kevin Fowler, who came in for a little bit and kind of left. And I think that's kind of where we were at. So let's kind of start off there.
Okay, so yeah, the lineup changes started back. So we'll skip back a little bit.
Sure.
In '92, when guitar player Danny Aaron decided to split, and that's fine. He had some life changes, and that's fine. And then so we needed a guitar player. That was conveniently around the time that we asked Columbia to, we were asking to be dropped because we were writing, and they weren't digging the material. I don't know if they wanted us to start sounding like Nirvana or what, because it was 92, 93, starting to, the climate was changing, right?
Right.
And that's fine. We had a bunch of songs that we wrote with Danny that ended up being on the Pissed album, which came out in spring of '94. Mm-hmm. With Kevin Fowler, who is a regional country star and just killing it all over town. Guy's a badass. He was in the band in '93, so technically he replaced Danny Aaron for about 9 months. And then we wanted to get Paul Lydell, but he had commitments to Dirty Looks on the 5 Easy Pieces record and tour. And as soon as he was done, he called. He goes, "I'm ready to move to Texas." And I was like, "Oh shit!"
Where was he at?
He's East Coast. He's from Rochester.
I think
he was. Yeah, I think he was living in Pennsylvania at the time, like Scranton, where the office is. Yeah. And anyway, and I was like, "Shit! Well, we have Kevin Fowler." You know what I mean? And we all knew that, and even Kevin knew that Paul was a perfect fit. And so Kevin, enter Paul, literally January 1st, New Year's Day, knocking on my door of '94. January 1st day of '94, he's knocking on my door. I'm staying on my couch. I'm here. I'm ready to go. We were like, I think he had a tape of all the songs that had been picked out for the Pissed record. Mm-hmm. And we did like maybe 1 or 2 shows with Paul, and then we flew to L.A. to record. Van Nuys is where we recorded.
So just to be clear, Paul is on the Pissed record.
Paul is on the Pissed record. So it's the original lineup, sans, because to be clear, the first Toys album, and the other interviews that go with this series, you'll hear me say, the 4 guys that played on the first record, I mean, you look at the picture, it's a 5-piece band.
Right.
Only 4 guys on there. Scott did all the guitars.
Right.
Okay. So the same 4 guys today, 24, 25, they're still in the band. Same 4 guys. So it's original guys that played, right? Danny played on Hellacious Acres. Paul comes in, plays on Pissed and the artist formerly known as, and whatever live stuff we have, right? So, okay. So we go to Van Nuys, and it's, you know, I don't know, March or whatever, and we finish the record. We come back, and Mike Watson, bass player, decides that he wants to go to trade school. Totally fine. Exit Mike. We have a 200-date tour we're about to do, and we need a bass player. And I call Michael Hannon from Salty Dog. Ooh, baby, come along. You know that song? I love that record, man. It's fun. Anyway, and we were already friends with those guys. So I called Michael Hannon. I said, hey, Mike, what are you doing? He goes, I'm on a ladder. He's in L.A. at the time. He's from Ohio originally, but he had been in L.A.
Right.
What are you doing? I'm on a ladder painting a house. I go, we'll put your bass rig in the van and drive to Texas and do this tour with us. He goes, I'm on my way. No audition, or he just came and learned the songs. The way Michael tells the story is like, yep, you guys gave me $5 a day. And I have to think about it. I'm like,
that's what it pans out to.
I don't think that we gave you $5 a day. I mean, you got what I got. What the fuck, you know? Anyway, it's funny to think about now. If we gave you $5, I'm not calling him a liar. I just can't believe that. That's pretty shitty. Anyway, he saved the fucking day. So we did the tour. We got back. He didn't go back to L.A. He went to Ohio. That's a whole other story.
So he never became a permanent member.
Nope.
He just did the tour.
Nope. Just like Kevin didn't become a permanent. We were even doing Kevin Fowler's. Kevin Fowler's a great songwriter.
And he was cool. Like he just gave you guys those songs.
No. To finish, we were collaborating with him, and he was bringing songs to the table, and we were playing them live. Yeah. But we didn't have studio time booked, and we didn't have songs picked out. We were still trying to, you know, get a label that would take us, that we could just trust to put out whatever record we wanted to make, right? Mm-hmm. And so, fortunately, unfortunately, that's usually the route of an independent, right? And that's great, especially for the mid-'90s, where, you know, if you look like this and you play metal or hard rock, or you're kind of fucked. Yeah. So.
And was that the DMZ label?
Yeah, and Scott and Mike and Mark were working there in the warehouse. And they knew everybody there, and they knew the money guy there and the money guy, right? Yeah. And the guy was like, you guys making a record? Why don't you just make a record with us? And they thought about it. We talked about it. Said, fuck it. Let's fucking do it. So Pissed and the artist both came out on that label. Had worldwide distribution. They didn't, you know, because of the climate again, those records didn't do what the majors did for those first 2 records, because there was no real machine behind it, right? Sure. That's an old story. But anyway.
But the good thing is that it got the distribution. I mean, it was out there.
For a minute. Yeah. I think the Pissed record sold maybe 14 or 15,000. And then the artist sold less. But back to the sort of timeline. When Michael went back to Ohio and we are sitting there with no bass player, we start to write a record because the label said, hey, you guys want to make another? We're like, let's just do it. Let's start writing, and we'll just get a bass player later. That was kind of the plan. Well, I'm a bass player. So I was writing with Paul and with Scott and Paul, and I was just playing bass on the demos, right? And I'd bring songs in that I wrote on guitar or whatever, and I was plugging in and playing bass and singing on all the demos. And when we had enough material that we thought was suitable to congeal as a full record, it sort of turned into, you know, we used the same producer, Tom Fletcher, that we did on Pissed, and Billy Sherwood, who played in Yes, you know, the prog band Yes. He actually was the sort of like top guy on the Pissed record, and he had the final say. Means he took some of the money that we paid the engineer, so it was a collaborative effort.
Sure.
But all the dirty work, like engineering the record and setting up shit and mixing and all that, was the man Tom Fletcher. When we were about to make the artist formerly known as, we just slotted him. It's like, I don't really need Billy Sherwood. I love Billy Sherwood. I mean, the dude's in Yes.
Yeah.
He replaced Trevor Rabin in Yes. He's the baddest motherfucker. Anyway, love you, Billy Sherwood. But Tom Fletcher flew to Austin to make that record. We'd sent demos out of these songs with me playing bass, which ultimately ended up being the artist formerly known as. And, he's like, well, that's you playing bass? And I'm like, yeah. We're just going to get a bass player later. He goes, we'll audition some bass players before you get here, so we'll have a bass player when you get here to make the record with us. And he's like, no. I'm like, what? He's like, I won't make the record unless you play bass on the record. And I'm like, why? He goes, you're vibing these songs with how you're playing the bass. You're singing and playing bass. There's a you know what I mean? It's going to sound completely different if you bring some other guy who didn't like emotionally feel these songs as they're coming out of your intellectual property pie hole. Your third eye. You have become these songs. He didn't get as hippy dippy as I just did, but he made a point.
Sure.
And it was one less mouth to feed, so to speak.
But that was just for the recording?
No. I did the tour like that.
Oh,
we toured as a 4-piece.
Okay.
So that record came out in late 95.
Yep.
I don't have the date.
Yep.
And we called it. Our manager came down, was in the studio with us. And he was just tripping because, man, I'm just not used to, Pissed. Okay, I get it. But the artist formerly known as, some of that new metal, I hate that term, but what was hot at the time kind of crept in. And this might be cringy to some people who, love all the butt rock vibe that we have on those first two records, and then some of it on Pissed as well. People love the Pissed record because it's a slightly heavier vibe. It's, but I hear, like, there's songs on there that could have been on Hellacious Acres, in my opinion. Danny Aaron was in the band when we were writing all that. There's a lot of really cool sort of like Dangerous Toys vibe. I don't want to say 80s. Let me raise a flag here and make the point that Dangerous Toys' first record came out in summer of 89. The 80s are over. And the pundits and Rolling Stone magazine people or whatever, terminology, right? Think that we came out as a debut like 5 years too late.
Yeah.
And I think about that sometimes. I never dwell. And I think they might be right.
Sure.
At least a few years, right?
I would agree.
I mean, Guns N' Roses, it even took them like a couple of years.
Yeah,
I mean,
before
Appetite was out
big,
for a while, and people were like, fuck is this?
Yeah.
But I think that when the underground people heard it, it started to bleed out. Like on my podcast, I interviewed Brian Slagle, and he talks about when he was sent, because, he used to see Slash and those guys at like metal shows all the time in LA, and they would talk, and they even talked about working together. Can you imagine if Guns came out on Metal Blade? That would give it some legit stanza. I mean, they didn't need the help, but that would have given them an underground vibe already that they ultimately had anyway without an underground label.
But your Brian's like, God damn it.
Well, and he got a tape from Slash of the debut record before, it was on Geffen, but it was the promo, just a cassette tape.
Sure.
And he talks about the chills he got when he was like, fuck yeah. I mean, Jungle comes on and he's like, whoa. He knew. He fucking knew. But yeah, there was probably a little bit of, God damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So anyway, and that was 87. Well, I didn't even start playing with the toys until October of '87. So I was already a GNR fan because I had the Live Like a Suicide record, which was on their own little label that their friends put together. I think that was like the dude who owned that clothing company, Lip Service, that Axl and those guys, they worked at his store on Melrose or some shit. Anyway, that's like a historical down. I'm not a legitimate archivist as far as that info. So fast forward. So we're in the studio in Austin in '95, making the artist formerly known as record with Tom Fletcher, and I'm playing bass, and it came out great. And I was talking about the influence of those tunes, and there might even be like a tune that almost kind of sounds like Billy Corgan wrote it. Now,
so were you guys being influenced by what was happening?
Yeah. And not, I mean, yes,
subconsciously.
But inadvertently, not trying to, you know, I did, at the time, I didn't own any Smashing Pumpkins, and they were everywhere. Yeah. And they're still everywhere. But the point is somehow, some way, the popular music of those years there, you know, early '90s to mid '90s, was creeping in. I mean, there's a song on there that kind of sounds like White Zombie. There's a song on there that sounds like I don't know. Just that, you know, we had put our guards down to go in and, you know, force ourselves to make sure we were making a fucking cock rock record. Right. We let our guards down, and you know what? It felt really good to just break all the walls down and go, hey guys, just write. You know, we didn't even have this conversation, but hey guys, just write whatever you feel. Just write tiddlywinks. I don't give a fuck what it sounds like. If I like it, I'm gonna write some fucking lyrics to it, and we'll make a demo of it and sit back and just squint and try to disconnect from it, because that's hard sometimes. Sure. And if we love it, I just heard Hetfield doing an interview. I think it was an older interview. He's going, you know, we just went in and made a record, and if we love it, fuck everybody else. Right. That's where we kind of were. Yeah. Didn't sit well with fans. That we took liberty to open up ourselves to ourselves. Sure. And you know what? I want to say this. Mark Gehry, the drummer of Dangerous Toys, played his ass off on that record. He played great on Piss too. I mean, he plays great. Studio work, great, solid ass drummer, you know. I love the way he played his drums on the artist formerly, because we were all learning things about each other because of those songs being that different, right? So
I'm sure, because once you said, like, let's just play what we want, he was like, all right, now I can, you know, not just play like this mid-tempo stuff. I can do all these different role fill-ins and stuff. And
there's very little, this I'll speak for myself, there's very little regret on that record. There was things that we tried that Tom Fletcher's really good at, you know, poking the, you know, prodding the bull, you know, come on, man, come on, fucker, you're a rock star, fucking come on, sing your ass, you know, like a producer kind of should do to get the best out of the artist. Sure. Come on, I want you to cry. I want you to fucking bleed into the microphone. What the fuck, pussy? That kind of shit. Yeah. Really. Sure. And not in a mean way, just, come on, what do you got? You can do better than that. 50 takes later, right? and I think he really brought. I mean, my performance on Pissed, I listened to that shit and I go, I can't. I mean, I'm working on it. I try to not say I can't, right? Because you can. Obviously, humans are resilient as fuck. Sure. But I listened to the vocals, man, and I'm like, that would be really hard for me to sing right now, because your voice changes a lot. Sure. And it's a muscle, and you get used to, as you get older, your body starts to curl up and get dehydrated like a prune, and you can't stop what's coming, right? So your voice changes, and man, I listened to that. Even the artist formerly, what we were talking about, and my voice is different now than it was then. So we go out on tour as a 4-piece. We tour that record. It comes out. It's fine. Couple of things. In the middle of the tour, we lose our distribution and the label goes belly up all in like a week. So we're on tour and no one told us that the label was done and that. So we're showing up to total Spinal Tap. We're showing up to do an in-store, like a signing or something, and there's no product. We're walking around, you know, we're looking in the bins and there's no posters, there's no pulp, right? There's no regalia of, you know, and any line of, I don't know, even 5 people going, all right, everybody, welcome, Dangerous Toys. And you walk in and you go, hey, where's everybody at? You know, they didn't know. And so we're like, hey, can we talk to your management? Because we're supposed to be here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 right now to do a signing and a hangout with, you know, did you do promo, radio, blah, blah, blah. Manager comes out and go, we never got your product because you lost distribution. The distributor never sent it, and we found out that your label is shut its doors. It's the first time we had ever heard that.
Wow.
That's some Spinal Tap shit. We don't give a fuck now, but tour was over. We packed it and went home.
Oh.
Yeah. I think we played a few shows on our way home, gas money, whatever. You know, fuck it, whatever. So, you know, oh, how the king of the mountain has to climb down and face the, you know, we're from the DIY. You know my history.
Yep.
I don't give a fuck. I'll play a gig anywhere. You know, I've been paid a lot and I've been paid nothing, and I just like to rock. I don't give a fuck. So the point is the same. My fire is the same, no matter what, right? So we come home from that kind of funny Spinal Tap moment, and we take a little break. So this would have been the end of 96, right? So you get into 97, basically the Toys, couple years off. So, and I'm in like 7 bands around that time, just playing with people around town that either need a singer or a bass player or a singing bass player. And there's a barrage of stuff that whether you guys, I don't know, I was in Activator, I was doing some studio stuff. Activator was kind of like a Caius ripoff, if you like Caius. And, you know, drop C, super loud, fuzz tone, kind of, you know, deep. And I was just a bass player. It was kind of fucking awesome to just be the bass player for a while. And I also had Sick, my Kiss tribute going on from like early 90s to right around that point. And, you know, 94 is when Kiss got back together. Remember that?
Yeah.
94, 95, 96 is when they started doing all that. So it was a good time for Sick, my Kiss tribute, to start playing those conventions and shit. That was pretty fun. Anyway, so it started to all kind of slow down at some point, 98, 99. In 98, on that artist formerly known as, there was a guy named Ben Burton, who is an old childhood friend of my younger brother, Randy, who's this left-handed thrash punk rock drummer who was running sound for Toys on the road. And he had been working with Bobby Landgraf, who now plays in COC. He was in Down. He has a band called Honky. And he was beginning his earliest formation of what ended up being called Godzilla Motor Company.
Didn't he just get a new gig, too, recently?
Well, he works for Rex Brown. So he's been working for Pantera going on 4 years now.
No, I heard he got
COC.
Was it COC?
Corrosion of Conformity. And he just did his first 2 shows with them on the cruise. Lamb of God cruise? Or was it? It's not 70,000 tons.
It's Lamb of God.
Lamb of God cruise or whatever.
Yeah,
and he just got back. So yeah, Bobby's fucking awesome, dude. Obviously. He's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I mean, he's Rex Brown's bass tech. He was in Down. I mean, that's a lot. Now he's in COC. Obviously, he's the baddest motherfucker in the room when he lights up. He's well deserving.
Yeah.
He's the sweetest guy.
Yeah, I was about to say.
He's the sweetest guy.
Yeah.
He's smiling and joking and having a good time, getting shit done. 24/7.
Yeah.
But smiling and joking and having that, he's the best dude to be around.
Wow, cool.
Positive dude. Anyway,
Cool.
and I knew him because here's a little bit of information to give Bobby some more props. Is he's been in and out of Texas and LA. He's originally from Chicago. He lived in the Valley in Texas, did some growing up there, but he's lived all over the world because his dad used to work for Zenith. Remember
TV?
Yeah, Zenith.
Yeah.
Remember that shit?
Yeah.
Anyway, so he was in LA working. He played with a bunch of different bands, and when Billy White left Watchtower in '86, so this is 10 years prior to the era that we're kind of talking about. Billy White joined a band called, I hope I'm getting this right, Dino Lee's Love Johnson. Okay, in costumes and a horn section. It's kind of a funk and soul review, but kind of punk rock as well.
Yeah.
Costumes and big wigs and all. It was fucking crazy ass.
Wow.
It was like seeing a variety show. It was like Gwar, if Gwar was like a big band, jazz, funk, soul, fucked up, dirty jokes the whole time, and you might see some titties, kind of crazy shit going on, like Gwar, kind of like that, but a little more like. I don't know. I think I explained it right. Billy was playing with Dino Lee, which is he's famous around Austin, and he's had a bunch of different bands, and him and Bobby were friends. But Dino had Billy White fresh out of Watchtower playing guitar with him. And then Billy White had some other things lined up. He ended up playing with Will Sexton, Charlie Sexton's brother. And they had a deal and started touring, and Billy joined that band. So Bobby took Billy White's place in Dino Lee's band. And that's right up Bobby's alley because he's a funk player. He's a metalhead, obviously.
Right.
But he knows how to play groove. That's why he works so well in Down and COC, because it's all about that big fat groove, right?
Yeah.
So he was perfect in a funk band. And if you listen to Godzilla Motor Company, we'll talk about GMC in a second.
Sure.
If you listen to GMC, you hear all of that in GMC. Like, it's dark and twisted and there's some thrash and that, but when we're jamming, that's the funk. There's funk. And his favorite band in the world is ZZ Top, and they got all that funk too, right? Okay, so Ben Burton, sound man for Dangerous Toys on the Artist Formerly Known As tour, he gets back into the studio with Bobby and this guitar player, Chris Conley, who's from Detroit, who also ended up playing with Dino Lee, and him and Bobby came as a team, dual guitar player team. And so they're working with Ben, and they're trying to find a singing bass player. So Ben gets off the road with the Toys that has a singing bass player and walks in and goes, man, Bobby's like, man, I sure wish we could find a bass player that could sing. And Ben's like, it's fucking Jason standing right there, right in front of you. Wait, what? He's a singing? I know he's a singer, but...
So you didn't really know him at that time?
Bobby?
Yeah.
Not well. He used to come see Watchtower at the Ritz play all the time in the mid-'80s.
So he knew who you were, though.
Oh, he knew who Billy was. He was just... Bobby's this kind of social butterfly. He knows everybody. He's a super cool guy. Have you seen his... Time out for a second. Keep rolling. But have you seen Bobby's podcast?
No.
You guys got to check it out. Free plug, Bobby.
What's it called?
Crew from Hell 2.0. So, Crew from Hell, that's Pantera's Crew.
Yeah.
He has to call it 2.0 because it's not the original Crew. The only original guy they have, I think, is like they have Sonny and they have Grady, the original Crew from Hell, Pantera Crew. So I think Sonny and Grady are with Crew from Hell 2.0. So he got the okay to start his own like YouTube channel show called same name, Crew from Hell 2.0, where he, they're on, here you go, scenario. He's got tons of episodes out. You guys got to check it out. Just go to YouTube and type in Crew from Hell 2.0.
I'll check it out.
And you're going to shit. Dude, all those gigs with Metallica, Bobby walking around the donut. Yeah, here's Lars's kit. So you see those are special mics, and you're getting like the shit.
Inside scoop.
Yeah, here we are. It's like 5:30 a.m. and I'm at Dodger Stadium, and there's the donut. They're setting up the donut, and here's my rig, and I'm pushing Rex's shit together. Here's Rex's basses. Oh, let's go talk to Grady. Hey, Grady, what's up? Joke, all kinds of shit. Da 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 da. Dude, it's fucking awesome, and he's getting thousands of followers daily, so he's doing well with it. So go check that out, because he's on the inner circle of one of the greatest heavy metal bands from Texas, in the and the world. So you got to check that out. There's a lot of insight. Bobby's got it going on, and he's a great personality too.
Yeah.
So yeah, Crew from Hell 2.0. Love you, Bobby. So Ben Burton brings me in to what ended up being called God. They didn't have the name Godzilla Motor Company yet. I won't even tell you some of the shitty names we had before GMC, because you got to admit, Godzilla Motor Company is a pretty badass band name.
Yeah.
You have to be some bad motherfuckers if your band is called Godzilla Motor Company. Okay, so that's Bobby's baby. Oh, so I come in, they give me a cassette tape of like 6 tunes. And they're like, hey, write some bass, let's see what you got. Write some bass lines and write some lyrics and sing on this shit.
Yeah.
So I did like, 3 or 4 of them, and I invited them over to my house, and I pressed play. And Ben Burton didn't need to know. He knew whatever I was going to do, he was going to be all right. So it's Chris and Bobby show up. And
now Godzilla,
they loved it, and the rest is kind of history on that. But
I think we were remiss not to mention too that Godzilla was a 3-piece band.
No, 4-piece. Chris
right.
Conley and Bobby are the guitar players.
I forgot about the other guy.
Yeah, well, we can't do it without Chris, because he was the science fiction, like pterodactyl from hell guitar. I've never heard anyone play guitar like that.
Yeah.
If you listen to the Godzilla stuff and you listen to the shreddy solos are there, but all of the in-between stuff, it sounds like it's science fiction. There's some shit. How is he making those fucking sounds? It's a guitar, but I don't understand how he's doing it. It's a sight. And anyway, so the Godzilla Motor Company CD is available on Bandcamp if you want to check it out. It finally, in the pandemic, Bobby calls me. He goes, dude, I found all the original tracks on a hard drive.
Wow.
We should release this. Nobody's doing shit. It's a pandemic. We can't even leave the fucking house. Why don't we get Jared Tootin, my partner in Broken Teeth, and among many other things, to like open all this shit and open these files and mix it. And I'll cut a solo here. There's one missing here because an official release of GMC never happened. And the band went through 3 drummers and officially disbanded in 2002, right after we recorded everything we had, 17 songs I think we had over like a 4 or 5 year period. This was 98, 99 that I was coming into the GMC camp.
I don't know if you remember or not, but I interviewed you for Godzilla Motor Company.
Oh, that's right.
And I remember
we played Wackies.
Yeah, and we did it next door.
Yeah.
And I had you sign my first Dangerous Toys
My hair
record.
was like this
Your
long.
hair was really short. Yeah. And I remember I shot that show, and then there was a few other shows that I shot.
Yeah.
And
those early days for you.
Yeah. Those were early days for Robs.
Yeah.
So, and if I recall correctly, somewhere in my archive in there, I have a Godzilla Motor Company CD. Okay. I don't know if it's rough or what.
It's probably some of the what I call the demos.
Yeah.
But it's pretty badass for demos. And it was recorded on an 8-track recorder, I think. And
I remember I played Godzilla Motor Company videos on Rob.
That's right.
Yeah.
So all of the recording was done in-house up until the point that we recorded all 17 of those songs that went through the songs didn't really change. I feel like they just matured with the drummers that we kept. It was fucking Spinal Tap again, man. Drummers he turned to a little green globule right on his throne. Yeah, this shit was just weird shit was happening. I won't go into it. So by 2002, we just were like, can't do this anymore. Bobby was going into honky and getting busy with honky tour stuff, and I was forming Broken Teeth. Exactly. See, you know. And I was getting, and also, guess who started to rear their head again? Dangerous Toys. And that would have been our first gig back with Mike Watson on bass, was in '99, supporting Alice Cooper and LA Guns at the Bronco Bowl in, I think it was LA Guns. I think it was us, LA Guns, and Alice Cooper at the Bronco Bowl in Dallas.
Was that a one-off?
In '99. It was a one-off.
Yeah.
And, you know, since we had toured with Alice Cooper a few years prior, eight years prior.
So you had put the bass away live. You weren't playing it.
Well, it was like, it was Den Productions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Den,
Lane Arnold.
Yeah.
It was Lane Arnold. And he was doing that Cooper show, and he called me, and he was like, hey, if you guys still talk to Mike Watson? And I was like, well, fuck yeah, we do. And he was like, let's get him on stage, and you guys do a comeback show. So, you know, you guys toured with Alice Cooper. It might be a cool little throw you in the mix. I was like, badass. And I called all the guys, and we started rehearsing with Mike. And it was awesome because Mike was in Broken Teeth too. I was working with Mike because he was the first bass player in Broken Teeth. On the first Broken Teeth record, which came out in September '99, I believe.
The one with the devil?
Nope. It had a Dirty Magazine on the cover. It was before we had our official logo.
Oh, okay.
Guilty Pleasure is the one you're talking about, which is now on vinyl at revoltvinylrecords.com. And
I want to get that.
It's fucking.
I love that.
It's a great record.
I love that record.
It's a great record. It's when we started to come into our own.
Love that record.
Mike Watson plays bass on that. That would have been the second record. And in '90, it came out a couple years after the first one. The first one was on Paris Records, and it was me playing bass. You look at the cast, and there's 5 names, but there's like 2 names are fake. Like Paul played all the guitars. I even played a couple of like silly little guitar parts on it, but I played bass and sang on it.
Sure.
And Bruce Rivers played drums. He's been the drummer the whole time. So Mike was on a couple records, and then we got, that lineup kept changing and changing as well. And it's been this lineup for a long time. People passed away. People went to jail. Shit happens. Paul was in the band. It was me and Paul's kind of thing. We got Jared and Mike because it was a studio project talking about Broken Teeth.
Yeah.
And the record started to sell, and Paris Records was like, you guys got to play live now.
Sure.
You got to, it'll help the record move even that much more.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, of course. Well, so I called Mike, and I played the record for Jared Tootin, and he wanted in right away.
I thought Jared's live, his vibe was really cool.
Oh, dude, he's a mean son of a gun, man.
He always had a mean look, too, on stage.
But he looks like that all the time. He'll be smiling and laughing and handing out candy, and he looks like that. So he just looks like that all the time. He's not
a greaser, too. Yeah, like his hair slicked
Yeah,
back.
He's had a bunch of different looks.
Yeah.
He's looked kind of the same for a long time now. But anyway, so and Jared was in Pariah, so he's San Antonio guy. So anyway, we made the first 3 records with Paul, and Paul's sound is still continuing in continuance with the tone and vibe of Broken Teeth, but Jared has sort of like added this whole other monster to it because now it's kind of like a dirtier, maybe even a little bit more metal sounding, with Jared being in Paul's shoes.
Right.
So Jared just kind of switched with Paul, and then we got David Beeson to stand where Jared used to. And
why did Paul leave?
I was getting to that.
Okay.
Things started to happen a little bit for us, and played a bunch of South by stuff, and we got a booking agent after we played a South by festival. South by Southwest, right? And that would have been in probably 2003 or 4 maybe. And we got a booking agent. And it was Tone Deaf Touring. That's who it was. And they handled Trouble and all these like thrash bands and sludgy, dirgy, stoner rock shit. Tone Deaf Touring. They had all these. You look at the roster and you got Trouble and, Weed Eater.
Yeah,
and,
these
and
bands.
Broken Teeth. You know what I mean? Broken Teeth, the name fits, but you go see us and we're like a...
Dirty rock.
Yeah, dirty rock, loud,
Yeah.
Almost punk sometimes, kind of, And anyway, it was fun, and we worked with Tone. Anyway, so we had a full, like, U.S. run, like 30 shows, no day off, coast to coast. And we had jobs. Most of us had jobs that were, I don't like the word disposable, but we could leave for an amount of time and come home. Well, Paul couldn't pull that off, so he had to exit. And it was really a big bummer since it was kind of our baby, right? Now, he was still in Dangerous Toys the whole time.
Right.
But Dangerous Toys never really... Well, we toured in 94. The Toys did tour in 94. That would have been the Pissed record.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Artist tour, which we heard about that.
Shortened, yeah.
And then it was kind of a slowed down kind of thing. And we did the Alice Cooper thing in 99. Well, things started to pick up as the whole, like, alt metal, new metal, that started to change, and it sort of the gates opened up again where it was okay to be whatever kind of metal you wanted.
As we broke into the new millennium.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
People were like, get off that shit, man. Do whatever you fucking want to do. Why buy a new wardrobe because the trends are going somewhere else? Are you just going to run after the dollar bill and go to the mall and buy whatever's hot? Are you going to fucking put on your armor every day like you have been your whole life? Don't change just because Rolling Stone or Maxim magazine tells you to. Fuck that.
I think too.
I think people got over that.
The Gen Xers, like my generation, too, as you got older, and a lot of these people, started getting careers and having a lot more disposable income to spend. Yeah. And they were like, now I have money to go out and I can spend money to go see, bands that I love, that I grew up with. And I think since the new millennium, I mean, that gate that you're talking about has just gotten wider and wider and wider. And now everybody... Well,
there's like songs being written about gatekeeping and how shit that is.
Yeah.
Like, why would you... I'm going back to Metallica and Hetfield again, where they're like, I don't care if a Kardashian wears a Metallica shirt. Fuck it. Wear it all fucking day long. Wipe your ass with it. Who can stop the gatekeeping? It doesn't matter. Big, small, fat, tall, white, black, red, green, purple. Who the fuck ever? Who is telling someone go? You can't do that, man. Nah, that's uncool. Fuck all that, man. So you're right. That gatekeeping. There's songs being written about the motherfuckers who are like, oh, it's not cool to do this, but it's cool to do this. It's like, come on. Yeah. Come on, dude.
And then, of course, with social media and the internet and everything, it just made everything accessible,
too. Yeah, and retro.
Yeah.
Which just sounded normal to me. I don't even know. What is retro? But, legacy bands, who only put out a couple records 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I fit that. So you call it whatever you want. All of a sudden, the phone's ringing again, right? So the toys that picks up with Mike Watson in tow again, and that was great. It was just a rough patch there in the middle. And so obviously I'm busy. I've got Broken Teeth and Godzilla Motor Company, right? And then Godzilla's done in 2002. In the pandemic, we finally reissued the record with the original artwork that we had slated for a full-on album release that just never came to fruition in those early 2000s.
Is that what you're talking that's on Bandcamp?
Yes. 17 songs on CD. You can download it. It's on all the platforms.
It's like redone.
from the sessions we did at the name of the studio was on South Lamar. Oh, the Hit Shack. It was recorded at a place called the Hit Shack that's no longer there anymore.
Yeah.
If you go to Bandcamp and put in Godzilla Motor Company, that's GHHD Zilla. Now the story on that is
GHAD.
G-A, no.
G-A-A.
Yeah,
G-A-H-D.
God.
Yeah.
And then the H makes it God, right? Godzilla Motor.
Got it.
We had to change the spelling or change the name of the band, which we were not going to fucking do.
Right.
Because we were starting to make enough noise that Toho Limited, since 1968 in Tokyo, Japan.
I was going to say something about the Japanese.
Somebody
in Japan has copyright over that.
They made up that word Godzilla.
Wow.
And they call it, and this is going to be interesting, Gozira.
Yeah.
And it's spelled Gozira.
Yeah.
So later on, the band Gohira from France, right?
Right.
Puts a J in there, and that's basically their band is called Godzilla, but it's spelled like their native country.
Yeah.
Which they can't. Toho Limited can't do. It's like, why didn't we fucking think of that? You know, let's just use a different language that looks the same.
Right. Toho said you could use the name. Just we're gonna get a little cut of everything.
So we just changed the spelling, and then the cease and desist letter stopped coming.
Good.
So So anyway, that was defunct. But everywhere I went on tour, whatever continent I was on, there was always someone going, dude, tell me about this fucking band, Godzilla Motor Company. So it still happens to this day. Wow. I'll go anywhere, and people fell in love with that. It's just too bad that it couldn't cohesively grab any mass, and stay on the wheels.
I shot another show of Godzilla at Medieval Nights.
Yeah.
It's somewhere in there.
Down here. We played down here a few times. I thought for sure if we were going to get any footprint, it was going to be here.
Yeah.
And the shows we did here were fairly lightly attended, maybe 50 people, maybe more, maybe I don't remember it correctly, but it was like, wow, what are you doing here? Well, I have this band Godzilla. That's you? I'm like, yeah.
And then is that you with that short hair?
But they're like, how come you're not saying Jason McMaster? How come you're not blowing it up with your accolades?
Sure.
And I'm like, fuck that shit, man.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. I wanted to, because when you hear it, you're like, fuck. Right. I mean, because it's not. It's just a spin off of Dangerous Toy. No.
Your vocal was a lot different.
Yes.
You weren't really like doing that high pitched stuff. You were just more like straightforward
delivery.
When
you think about the end of the artist formerly known as Dangerous Toys, and you hear the things that I've described where, there's ballads where I'm singing this real pretty thing, and there's fucking songs that sound like White Zombie and like this Ministry kind of industrial vibe, that there's no machines or computers on that record, but we were creating those sounds with guitars and basses. And which has also made it really fun.
How cool is
on
that
record.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, they hear artists formerly Dangerous Toys, and then they hear the Godzilla record, and they're going, wait, there's a connection here. And I'm like, you're fucking A right. And Ben Burton hearing the possibilities of what's happening here for Godzilla Motor Company was like, it was a no-brainer to Ben. He just had to tell Bobby and Chris about it. So it was just like continuance. Godzilla is a continuance on a small scale of some of the things that were happening on the artist formerly known as.
Okay.
So if you guys want to A-B those records, you should, and you'll hear some coincidentals. So we're like up to like 2002 and 3 and all that, right? Mm-hmm. The Toys are just playing shows when the phone rings. Broken Teeth, the same, doing some touring. Regional, a lot of Midwest runs. Sure. We continue to make records. I think Broken Teeth has fucking 9 records out now. So we've been a band like 22 years. Wow. Broken Teeth has.
Yeah.
And everything has slowed down. COVID kind of fucked up a lot of sort of momentum for a few things, and it changed people. It's arguable, sure, but I feel like some people got busier because they had time to finish projects. Case in point, Godzilla Motor Company finally came out.
Wow.
But, you know, things started to happen. Broken Teeth slowed down the end of the 2000s and on into, you know, 2010, 2015. It's just crazy, right? And the only thing really new that was happening then was, or even now, up to now, is the toys started writing again. And we've been writing for a long time, and it's just really slow. It's quite embarrassing. In 2004, we did Rob's MetalWorks with Watchtower.
Yep.
You were our resurgence, a little bit of resurgence there. In 2000, we did, let's go back to 2000, because we also did a thing down here.
That was at Medieval Nights.
That was at Medieval Nights. And
we interviewed that night, too.
I think that picture right there
that is
was taken that night.
Let me grab it so people can see it.
And
is.
Yeah. And that was
you even put the date on it.
Yeah, we were
wow.
Yeah, well, that's 2004. This is Sam's Burger Joint. This is the second time. The first time is 2000.
That 2000.
And that was at Medieval Nights, which is not there anymore. And
unfortunately.
Yeah, and then we did a warm-up show there. We did an interview there. And we played Bang Your Head Festival in Balingen, Germany. And that was the first time that I had been back with Watchtower since I had left to do the toys.
Sure.
And so that was fun. And then in 2004, Watchtower had another resurgence, and we did it with you at Sam's Burger Joint. Fantastic gig.
Yeah.
Over the top.
Over the top.
Yeah. And then we did, that was for a show we did a festival, a prog metal festival in Amstelveen, Holland. And that was called the Headway Festival.
Yeah.
And the co-headliner that weekend was a band that's very influenced by Watchtower called Siege is Even. And I made a record years later, a couple of them that you pretty sure you have, or you at least one of them, Howling Sycamore.
Yep.
And that was with David Tissot, who was in Ifal Duath, which was on that Headway Festival in Holland. And we did not meet, but obviously he was a fan of mine, a Watchtower fan.
Sure.
And contacted me about 2015 or so, and we made those two records.
Did you have to travel over there? You just did your work
No,
here?
he was living in the Bay Area
okay.
and writing there, and Hans Grossman, who plays in Gore Guts and fucking everybody. He's played in some American Floridian death metal band. He played with Ron Jarzombek on some stuff. And,
Yeah.
It might have been on, I don't think it was Blotted Science. It might have been Blotted Science, but it might have been Spastic Ink. No, I think it was Blotted Science.
Probably.
So anyway,
so let me...
there's it's just kind of turning into this mixed bag in the 2000s and on into the 2010s.
And I think too, music fans, I guess, started. I mean, at least I did. Started noticing this transition where artists and musicians were like doing multiple things.
Yeah.
Because it didn't used to be like that back in the old days.
Yeah.
You were in a band and that was your fucking band.
Yeah.
Now you're like, I do this, I'm in this band, I do
Yeah.
this. And, people's range started opening up.
I feel like, I'm sorry to interrupt,
No.
but it feels like it's a personality trait. Like almost like I'm not diagnosed, but ADD or something. You know what I mean? Where you're just like a shark, you just have to, what's over here? Hey, what's over here? Cool. You have itches to scratch.
Yeah.
So you're doing, Philip Anselmo is like that.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Mike Portnoy is like that. And it's kind of a hive mind.
Dave Ellison's like that.
It keeps going.
It
There's
just
a
keeps
lot
going.
of there's a lot of people who just produce. Oh, I got this going on, and then I'm going to do this, and oh, I did the album cover for these guys. It's almost like you're ahead of a label, and you've got all these bands.
Sure.
But you're not ahead of unless you're Philip Anselmo. He's got a label.
Yeah.
And, Dave Ellefson, he had a label.
Had a label.
So the point is, it's the same. So yeah, there's all kinds of stuff going on. Some of the things like the Howling Sycamore and many other things as well, which because I'm making a record with Jack Frost. It'll probably be under the moniker, again, Seven Witches.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I'm in the middle of that.
Wow.
And I'm also in the middle of doing a record with David Austin from Nasty Savage.
Yeah.
And that's called DNA.
Wow.
Those are his initials, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
called DNA. And I've got one song to do for that and two more songs to do for Jack Frost.
And you did a song with Hellstar.
I did recently did a song with Hellstar. I collaborate with people overseas quite a bit that a lot of people don't know because they're bands that no one's heard of.
Sure.
That I can't even pronounce. And they're just hitting me up on the email going, hey, man, you don't know me, but I'm in Greece. Or, hey, man, you don't know me, I'm in Italy. And they're just sending me cover songs. And, hey, here's $100. Sing Metal Thrashing Mad. Hey, here's $100. Sing, Fuck Like a Beast, Wasp. And, I've been doing shit like that. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, cool.
And so, yeah, I mean, apparently I'll always have a gig,
That's good.
It's really good. And it makes
That's
me
good.
smile because I'm glad that people find me approachable.
Right.
Because not everybody, oh, man, I don't know, but once you meet me, it's
Sure.
like, oh, dude, he's just a nerd,
Sure.
let's go.
Sure.
So, yeah, lots of different things going on.
Let me jump back real quick.
Of course.
Um,
We can do anything now because we're sort of up to date.
Yeah.
Sort of. Right.
didn't you join IGNITOR in 2008? Was that the
No,
official?
it was earlier than that. It was
Okay.
earlier than that. So IGNITOR formed in 2003.
Right. Right.
And it was with totally different, like pretty
Sure,
much a totally
sure.
different lineup.
I know. I interviewed them back at that time.
Okay, with Erica,
Yeah, and Erica
and Beverly,
Yeah.
and Brendan on bass.
Yeah, that was when I
Brendan
first met-
Bigelow,
yeah.
and that's the original
Yeah.
band. The two stalwarts that are still there is Pat on drums and Stuart Batlord,
the Batlord.
the Batlord from Agony Column on. And Pat's no slouch. Pat is legendary. He was in the Offenders, who've been around since the fucking early '80s out of Killeen, Texas. And the Offenders are this global phenomenon, early hardcore punk band from Central Texas that. I mean, metal bands have covered their songs. They're legendary. The Offenders, look them up. And Pat, it's kind of a super group, but no one calls it that. With my stuff and Stuart and, with the Agony Column, which is this kind of also an underground phenomenon.
Sure.
And Pat with Offenders. And then now the current bass player is Billy Chainsaw Dansfield, who isn't the original bass player for Agony Column, but he was on the second record and he's been in the band ever since. So he's been in the band 25 years or longer. He is in IGNITOR now, and because he was standing there. And that's how I'm in IGNITOR, because I was standing there. I was friends with all those guys, and me and Stuart have this Judas Priest tribute band that plays every couple of years for fun. Sad Wings, right? And so I'm standing there one day in 2004, I think it was, because to be clear, IGNITOR made a record in 2003, an EP called Take to the Sky, which won all these accolades in all the European, German heavy metal magazines, Demo of the Year and all that kind of shit, and got invited by Oliver to go play Keep It True. And it's like everyone loves it, and everyone loves Erica, And then they come home and they record a record called Road of Bones, which is great power metal, fantastic power metal, with the exact same lineup from Take to the Sky. So those two records are consistent and still available. Just go to ignitorband.com. Now, the record Road of Bones never saw really any fanfare or gigs. Some of the material was played live, of course. ironically, Broken Teeth and Igniter played on some shows that, remember the Tattoo Festival that used to happen?
Tattoo Expo.
That's it.
Yep.
Broken Teeth and Igniter played together
Yeah.
on a bill
Yeah.
at one of those festivals. And I thought that interesting because I knew them and I knew their songs and I was a fan. And it wasn't long after that. And they were playing Road of Bones material at that point. And that's 2003, 4-ish, right? Getting into 2005 is when, because Road of Bones, it came out and it didn't really come out. They pressed the record up and then they didn't do anything with it. So it just became available as, you can buy it. She splits for her own reasons, and that's on her, and understandable. People have a slight change of heart. You've got to go. When you must exit, you must follow where your heart takes you. And I love Erica. We're still buds to this day. And her husband is one of my greatest friends. It's Jeff. He was in Adversafira. He plays in Trenchant, plays in a bunch of bands. Death metal guy. Yeah, I know you've met him.
Yeah, probably so.
Jeff Tandy is his name. So anyway, I'm standing there at Sad Wings rehearsal, where is also Igniter rehearsal, but it's Sad Wings. We're all standing there. And I'm asking Stuart, how are the vocalist auditions going for Igniter? And he laughs out loud. And, he's telling me a little bit about it. And it's, some of it's laughable. And it's like, man, we've seen some characters come in here. And I imagine, you put out an open cattle call, man, you're going to get some characters. Right. And I go, if this keeps going, I'll do the record. He goes, yeah, I've got all the songs written for a new record. And that was the Spider Queen. And that was me.
That was your debut. Yeah. What year
and
was
that
the
ended
Spider
up
Queen?
That ended up coming out, I think.
2008. Was that 2008?
7, I want to say.
No, 2009. 2009.
Spider Queen, 2009. Yeah. Are you certain?
I'm certain. That was the first record you did with them.
That seems so late. Okay.
It's right there in my notes, sir.
All right.
You're going to fact check me again
I was in the band in 2007, and it just took that long to
Remember
get to
last time you fact checked me?
We got to. Right? You just have to, because
I can't remember, but the last time we interviewed you made me fact check it. I had to pull up my phone.
Hey, you better check that.
It was about I know what it was about. It was about the first Dangerous Toy record and where it debuted on the Billboard, and I had said 65.
Oh, okay.
And then you said no, it was higher than that, I think.
Oh, I wouldn't.
No, it was 65.
I don't remember it being much higher than that.
Yeah, it was 65. No, okay, so I have it in my notes here.
All right. So
Spider Queen came out.
I've been in the band ever since. There's like 8 or 9 records in.
Right.
It's kind of like Broken Teeth, but just happened a couple years after.
You told me I did.
And I'm still in both bands. So
I wrote a review on the band's brand new record, which I want to chat about right now.
Yeah.
And I just want to say something about the Bat Lord too. I don't know if you remember, but somewhere in there I said the mild-mannered Stuart Lawrence, also known as the Bat Lord, which is kind of a dichotomy,
Yeah.
But every time I see that dude, he's always kind of mild-mannered. And kind of, at least with me, he's kind of like, chill, he's not one of these loud people, even though he's like a fucking master fucking guitarist and songwriter.
Man, when he's on, it's
and what was I telling you downstairs about his tone? To see.
Yeah. His style and his tone are recognizable.
Yeah.
Well, that all comes from his years and years of the work that he's, and Agony Column is also his baby. Igniter is Stuart's baby, and the predecessor, Agony Column, which they just played last weekend with Skate Nigs.
Wow.
Sold out, come and take it. It was fucking brutal.
Wow.
So, that's happening. And Richie, the Devil Chicken, lives with Stuart, not in the house, but they have like a mother-in-law plan. They got a housey out back, and the Devil Chicken lives with the Bat Lord.
Wow.
Yeah. And Chainsaw, who's in Igniter, Billy, so it's a family plan. It's a full-on family plan.
Wow.
Igniter and Agony Column, we're talking about Stuart's guitar playing. you can hear what he's doing, a little bit of what's happening with it, with Agony Column and Igniter, of course, because Igniter he's the creator of that. On this new record, we've got 3 records with this complete lineup here. And some are arguing, I'd like to get your opinion, if you go back to the first record I'm talking about Robert Williams.
I was about to mention him.
When you exit Beverly and you enter Rob Williams, and they're friendly as well, and we had her blessing. No audition. It was like, Robert, just come in here and play guitar for Igniter, because we don't want to audition shit. Just like same with Billy. It's like, Billy, you're already living here. Come fucking play bass. Family plan. Same with me. I was friends with Erica. I'm standing there. They're auditioning people, and I hate to see that sufferable band issue where they can't. It's like, Igniter is a cool ass fucking metal band. I'm like, hey man, I'll just sing on the record and we'll see where it goes. And I've been standing there ever since. Bringing Robert Williams through the last 3 Igniter records, Haunted by Rock and Roll, The Golden Age of Black Magic, and now the brand new Horns and Hammers. So Stuart and Robert's input.
Robert Williams, for some of you who know, former Witch's Mark guitar player. And I did some work with the band when they released their record many years ago too. But yeah, Robert Williams, long-standing rock and roller, man. Die Hard. Die Hard.
Yeah.
Die Hard. I've drank with that dude before.
Oh, he loves that. He loves that party metal party.
I'll never forget one time when we were at Bonds, and at Bonds they sell like these huge beers, like an enormous amount of.
That's Robert's style,
and that's what we were drinking, and that's what he was like He was making me drink it.
Making you. Come on, hurry up. It's getting warm.
Exactly.
Drink it while it's cold. You have a beer that fucking big. By the time you're here, it's like already hot.
Yeah,
exactly. I can't drink that shit, man.
Exactly. But yeah, good times with him.
Yeah,
I know he's a solid player too.
Yeah.
And
he's added a whole
diehard.
He's added what I'm getting at is he's added an entire new focus to not only just the vibe of the band. He's the young blood.
Yeah.
Like all the other dudes we're long in the tooth, bro.
Yeah.
So he's, a few years younger, and he's got this fire.
Yeah.
And has become an influence upon the rest of us, which is, that happens in bands.
Sure.
That happens. And I love it when that happens because there's this new, you could say that about, even though it's, 15 going on 20 years later with Todd LaTorre and Queensryche. They have a fucking fire, and I know they just played.
Yeah.
They have a new fire with Todd and with Casey, the drummer. They have this new blood, and they're back on. They're ruling the mountain.
Yeah.
And all respect to Jeff Tate, but when you give the new, which is not the new version of Queensryche anymore, when you give that a chance and you see it live and you hear Todd and you hear Casey and you're like,
yeah,
what the fuck is happening right now? Because this shit is killing me right now.
Yeah.
And it's so fucking good. Anyway, Robert has done that with Igniter and sort of saved it. He saved us without us even realizing we needed saving, if you know what I mean. We didn't know there was anything wrong until we made Haunted by Rock and Roll, and we're like, God damn, this is a new chapter of this band.
Sure.
And, Metal Dave, my co-host on Talk Louder podcast, he said something the other day. We had Billy Chainsaw on, and it's really weird being an Igniter and having a member on Igniter on there, but it's okay because it's just a coffee table of nerds. We're just hanging out. And David told us both straight out. He goes, this trifecta of these 3 records that I just mentioned, Haunted, Golden Age, and Hammers, is like this whole new band or chapter. No disrespect to anything that was happening before that.
Yeah.
But it was like, you guys have arrived with these 3 records. If you go out there, and Metal Dave's sending out a calling card, he's going, if you're going to check out IGNITOR, start with any of these 3 records and then work your way back if you even feel like the need to do so. And it was like, he put it in a perspective. Me and Billy were just like, wow, thanks, Dave. You know, because we're not thinking like that. We're focusing on this right now and not any sort of retrospective.
Sure.
Right? That's why I just have to give Robert credit, because he brought a lot of material in on Horns and Hammers. And like, there's some songs where officially it's just me and him that wrote the tune, and then there's a couple where it's, you know, me and Robert and Stuart, and then there's a couple where it's just me and Stuart. But the bulk of it is like, you know, Robert showing Pat and Billy his riffs, and then Pat and Billy throwing their, throwing their spit at what it is to create IGNITOR.
Sure.
And those tunes are the most interesting to me. I wouldn't even know. See, I wasn't even in on the riff writing. I wasn't there in the rehearsal room, which is, you have to admit, this is a really old school way of doing it. People don't really write that way. The whole band lives in different countries.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they're writing over Zoom, or, hey, man, I wrote a riff. Here it is.
It's on Google Drive.
It's an email. Open up the Google Drive and check out the little thing that I wrote. And they're patching shit together, right? Well, IGNITOR wrote this record in a room together without me in the room, okay? And they just sent me rough demos of stuff, and I would, write some lyrics and cut my vocals at home and put it in the Dropbox, and that's it. And they would mix it and, do some replacement, update the guitars, record real drums, because most of the time the demos are just a click track, a metronome, with a real rough. And it's really hard for me, this will give you a little insight, it's really hard for me personally to get the vibe of the song, to really flesh the song out, to make it, flesh and bone, have an emotional value without the real drums on it. Because if you just got tick, tock, 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 tick, tock, tock, with a guitar on top of it, it's like fucking weak. I can't get my fucking, I can't get my blood going unless it has, heavy bass and the drums hitting me. Or the emotional sway of, if it's a ballad, it could be a different band. I'm just talking about my recording technique. If I wrote the song, I can sing it a cappella with a click track. I can be by myself because I know in my head what the fuck is going on because I wrote it. But with collaborations, I'm so uninspired if there's just like some, Casio drum machine with a, plinky, plinky, plinky thing going on with it. So I like, that's
so did you tell Stuart to send them to you with the drums and everything?
Real drums as much as I could, and that takes time. So once they got real drums on it, I would have to recut some of the vocals because there's a swagger in real drums because it's a human being and not a fucking robot.
Right.
So that's why it's important that you have that human touch to the songs. Anyway, that's sort of some process, but hats off to Robert Williams. He really brought a lot in here and sort of like was a hub for the rhythm section, Billy and Pat, and really kept Stuart on his toes. There's a song, Cyber Crush, on here that Stuart wrote the lyrics for. I wrote parts of the chorus lines and a couple of little doodads here and there to kind of elongate some of the shorter lines in his lyrics. But on that song, he had literally woke up and had a dream and wrote the lyrics, wiped off the sleepy sweat off of his face and wrote the lyrics. And I love shit like that. And that's Stuart. We were just talking about Stuart. You were talking about Stuart, how he's hyper intelligent. If you didn't know that about him.
I know that.
And you're right, he's very mild-mannered. But when he's on stage and in between songs, he has this war cry. I don't know if you've ever heard that, but I can't do it. But he's like, he sounds like a monster. It's like I don't know, a Viking roar or something that he does, and it's fucking metal as fuck. If you get under his skin, his voice gets louder and darker and meaner, and he will tear you up without touching you.
You know,
he's a monster. So the mild-mannered people, you got to watch out for those motherfuckers. Sure. They will kill your ass.
Oh, I know he's a beast just because of what he writes and stuff. And you know, I was really kicking myself maybe a few days after the last time I saw you when Igniter played with Rotting Corpse at the Continental Club.
Yeah, world famous Continental Club.
And I remember I had to get back to San Antonio, and I wasn't able to see your set. And you know, it was late, and we had been drinking, and I can't remember. I had to get back into town for something.
Well, the star of that show was Corpse. Everybody knew. We knew that going in. Yeah. We knew the star because it was a comeback gig for them.
Yeah. But I wanted to check y'all out. And I crossed paths, I think, with Batlord for a little bit, and then I think I glanced at Robert Williams. He came in kind of late. But I got to go just see his show soon, man. So I definitely want to support this record.
Thanks for the kind words that you put out on social media. Real quick, at that night, we were playing about 3 or 4 tunes off of this. And we have been playing, before the record came out, we have been playing some of the songs live.
And so for all you people, the record that we have been discussing this short while, go ahead and take a look at the cover art. It's the brand new record from Igniter, dropped last month in October, right?
Yeah.
Horns and Hammers. I did a review on it on our platform. Be sure to check it out. And I also put on the review, and I'm going to ask you about this, you know, because I think your vocals on this record are like some of the best that you've done. And you know, you were talking about how, you know, a good producer goes in there and motivates you to work harder. And so obviously, you know,
I don't have a
and that's what I'm saying.
I'm the producer.
That's what I'm saying. You know, so you just shared with us that you did your tracks at home.
Yeah, by myself.
Yeah. So what gave you the vigor to fucking put down what you put down on this record?
Well, the Howling Sycamore vocals were the same, and that's, you know, 2016 and 2018 when those records came out. And you know, my gear that I use is very simple. I think on the Howling Sycamore stuff, I used an SM58. That's what this is. I just used a handheld mic, and I have this kind of, I mean, professionals would look at it and go, why are you using that shit? But I love this fucking thing.
It's a piece of hardware.
That's right. And it's portable. I can record my vocals anywhere I want.
And now a lot of vocalists...
On tour, no problem. Hotel room, you need the vocal track tomorrow for the worldwide release? I can cut it at the Holiday Inn in the fucking bathroom and send it to you in 10 minutes. Hold on a second. Hold the phone. Okay, check your email. Done. I can do that with this machine, which is why I like it. It's called an R16, and it's made by Zoom. Not Zoom like video chat Zoom. It's made by you know, they make equipment, digital gear, software, and I fucking love it. It's great. And
so it records your track into a
file?
I
can. Yeah, basically you got a machine, right? So it's a portable recorder. It recreates WAV files. It's got all kinds of you know, like apps on it, and it's got you know, effects and whatever. But it has 8 inputs. You can record 8 inputs at a time, but it has 16. Like you hit a button and it goes to the next 8. So you can record 8 and then another 8 on. It has 8 more tracks. So you can record 8 at once and then rewind and hit a switch, and you're on another fresh 8 tracks. So you can record a 16. You could record a fucking orchestra in 2 takes. No, totally. You could.
Nice.
And I fucking love it. And technology is really... And I'm not tech savvy, really, but I figured that I needed to step it up, and I've grown a little bit with it. And I'm not where some of my people who actually are my producers, like Stewart's a producer and Jared Tootin is a producer, and they're partners. And Stewart is real. He's like, fuck yeah, man, that's killer. That's like that's good enough. It sounds good already. That's what I was gonna do, you know. But Jared is a little bit more. He's a stickler, and he's pro. He runs monitors for Smokey Robinson. That's how badass he is.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, he's a bad motherfucker.
Wow.
And he's always had the good gig. He was years and years and years with Jimmy Vaughn. He's a bad motherfucker.
Does he
Jared
play
Tootin has a Grammy.
Does he play in any bands
fuck?
right now?
Broken Teeth. Just Broken Teeth.
Just
Yeah,
Broken
and we're barely. We played a couple weeks ago. We have a gig next month.
Nice.
Yeah, it's slow. It's slow, and we're writing too. But anyway, so my process is, I got a better microphone over the pandemic. I got a better microphone, and I got a mic preamp. So I've upped my game a little bit, but I'm still using the Zoom, which is still kind of new to me, even though
Right.
I've had it for only 5 years or so.
Well, you needed something like that if you're going to be answering those calls from people in Greece and Italy and stuff like that.
Well, if I'm collaborating, well, you know what really made me think about it is like I was cutting. I had this little, I hate to call it a piece of shit, but I wrote like almost every Broken Teeth song on tour in the back of the bus. I would take this little thing and write demos on this little fucking thing. I needed something that was a little more applicable to like at least a USB that would run like a digital audio software. Like I could USB into a computer and see all the files, you know, like a real digital studio. And this other thing, I was like, what the fuck am I doing? You know, so I had to upgrade a little bit at a time because I'm not tech savvy. So it took me a second, but you know, I want to mention the 2 records I made with Cassius King. Those records, I fucking love those because I love Trouble, the band Trouble from Chicago. And I've been a fan forever, since the mid-'80s. And Dan Lorenzo from Hades, we've been friends forever because, you know, Alan Tecchio took my place, and he's the singer for Hades in Watchtower when I joined the Toys. And so I've had this Jersey connection as long as I can remember. And Dan wanted to write some songs, and I go, well, let's call it Cassius King. That was the name of your solo record. Let's use that, and it'll be a continuum. He's like, genius, let's go. And it was basically dudes in Hades, and Ron Lipnicki was the drummer for Overkill for 10 years. And those records are fucking great. Check it out. Cassius King. Yeah, it's on Nomad Eel Records. Yeah. If you go to Nomad Eel Records Bandcamp, you'll find those records.
I got to check that out. I haven't really jammed
It's kind of sludgy and doomy, but it's a little of it's kind of boogie, but like boogie like a old weird Black Sabbath song.
Yeah.
Kind of shuffly, kind of groovy, but sludgy, dark. Dan's tone is dark. It's a friend of mine calls it murky. That shit's murky.
Yeah. Murky metal.
Like, here you go, like Kiss Hotter Than Hell. You know the production on Kiss Hotter Than Hell? It's murky, right? It's kind of dark muddy, and weird and muddy and dry sounding. Yeah.
We can't end our discussion today without talking about the records you did with Evil United and that kind of effort. I remember
because that's going to lead us into a couple of other things.
Okay, so the debut for Evil United came out in 2011, and I remember first hearing that record, and I thought, holy smokes, you know. I kind of thought Evil United was a super group. You had Shakes in there.
Yeah.
John Valenzuela, of course, Donnie from S.A. Slayer was there, and then Bird was in there. I thought, man, what a fucking lineup.
Yeah.
And then it was like super heavy.
Pitbull Daycare with Jason singing.
Yeah.
Is what it was.
It was super heavy.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And there's a song on that debut record that I still listen to a lot, the Sodom.
Walking to Sodom.
Walking to Sodom.
It's fucking heavy.
I love that fucking song.
It's fucking dark, and it's just Sodom and Gomorrah shit, you know, Tower of Babel, where everyone's fucking and sucking and partying, and like you're walking into hell, basically. Yeah. But you might think it's a party because you've heard all these, oh man, people are free and that, like a hippie movement or something, and then you're damned to hell, right? So it's fucked up.
And then the last record, the third record, Serpent.
The second record was Honored by Fire.
Honored by Fire.
And that was, Donnie played on that. Yeah, and then the third record has
Was that it with Andrew?
It was with Andrew Salazar, correct?
Andrew Salazar.
And he killed it on it. He's a beautiful bass player.
He's amazing.
Guy is such a great artist on the bass.
He was
man.
here Saturday for the barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah, him and his brother were here.
Yeah, he fucks with me. He goes, yeah, dude, my mom was a Watchtower fan. My mom used to go see Watchtower all the time. And I'm like, dude, no, dude. I mean, that's fucking awesome.
Did you know this?
Yeah.
His brother, who sings and plays guitar in their band, Danella Drive.
Yeah.
His brother was his brother's father was a member of Pitbull Daycare.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, the little dude. What was his name?
I can't remember his name right now. That sucks.
Andy.
That's right. Andy. That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's his dad.
How do you think I feel? Because Rob, my dad was on your show. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a good.
And that kid, we were talking, because Thomas works with them too, and he's always asking me for advice. He's trying to break out. He goes, Rob, we've done everything we can do in the SAC, and I said, I agree. He goes, we need to move on. I said, I know.
Yeah.
He goes, I'm 29 years old already. I'm getting old. And I said, I know, man. I said, but yeah, I mean, it's weird.
Yeah, it's one foot in front of the other. That's my advice.
Yeah.
Do what you love and don't go broke doing it.
What happened? What happened with Evil United?
Evil United made that third record,
which I thought was an amazing record.
Yeah, I love Serpent. I love all three of them. There's some strong moments. Evil United did some shows with Armored Saint and Saxon, and we opened for everybody cool. We opened for Diamond Head. We did a bunch of cool shit. We did a couple shows with Fate's Warning, and you see the Joey Vera connection there, right? And so it was a great sort of 3-album moment, and I don't want to say it started to deteriorate when Don left, because Riot was just starting to blow up at that point again, right? Riot goes through these things where they just go bang, and they're on every festival. They're going on tour. They're on all the cruises, all the metal cruises. Fabulous. So happy for Don and Riot and where they are now. It's great. Not without pitfalls, of course, but yeah, fantastic. And then after the third record, there was just this kind of COVID, changes your headspace and health things. And, I don't want to go down that bummer road, but just some things changed and we grew apart. We're still, I love all those guys involved, and just because we're busy with other things, just kind of that had a big play in it as well. I don't want to blame everything on COVID, but you gotta, when you have to do something different, adapt or die. So yeah, that kind of happened, and let's talk about me and the Evil United guys, a couple of them writing a song or two a couple years ago, but whatever, everyone's just busy.
Well, Bird's doing Thunder Horse.
Yeah, and he's been doing that for a while. That's not new.
Yeah, that's what's
they've got like 3 or 4 records out or some shit. Yeah. So and I'm busy as fuck. So.
Yeah. So did you say you were going to transition to something from Evil United?
Evil United and the maybe. Oh yeah, S.A. Slayer.
S.A. Slayer.
Yeah. Since I've known S.A. Slayer, but Evil United with Don Van Stavern.
Yep.
Since 1983, and with the whole Texas metal contingency with those two bands, with Hellstar and Militia, and it just got Rotting Corpse and the Dallas Crew, and so that San Antonio, Austin, Houston, San Antonio, Austin, and Dallas, this sort of like Texas metal trail that scar right up the middle of Texas with those 4 cities. Oh, Corpus Christi too, with Devastation, man. That's where I'm from. Started in Corpus Christi, went to Austin, then met Rodney years later, and it's like Devastation, from down here, and then Hellstar, and then Watchtower, and Riding Core, Slayer in SA. It's been an unbelievable sort of like 45 years of knowing this group of people that have all been somewhat, if not off the chain, globally realized and recognized without really even, stressing doing the work. It was almost natural because the DIY and the underground, that's where you are when you're a kid. 45 years ago, I was 18 years old or some shit, right? So you're a kid and you're making metal and you don't have any money. You're just playing gigs and you're not really getting paid, and you're making a record by saving your lunch money, and you're promoting your band with a something you drew on a piece of paper and going to the Xerox machine in the school office, and you hit 50 of them. Like, tell me if anyone's coming, and you whatever you can. You run out of gas, and you just fucking leave your car, and you carry your shit to the gig. The rest of all those things are fucking real when you're a kid, and you're happy doing it. There's no bummer. There's no cancellation. You just do it. You just do the work because you're either too dumb or you're possessed by what it is. And here we are. My point is with the passing of Steve Cooper, who he and I had the same birthday. We had the same birthday.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, March 18th. And he was a couple years older than me, but we were thick as thieves, and me and all the SA Slayer guys and Watchtower guys, I love those guys. With the passing of Steve, years later, of course, maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago, something like that. I'm just guessing. Don't quote me on that. And then Texas metal never died. I mean, versions of things. Juggernaut has played the German festivals. Militia, Watchtower. There's more.
And now SA Slayer.
There's more. And now finally SA Slayer.
Wow.
And I got the call, and it's something that's being talked about. And I was like, you can count on me whenever you're ready. I'll be right here waiting. And some managers and promoters that I believe Don and Dave are in thick with, that have been talking about this for a long time. They say, yeah, if we do it, it'll be Jason. And I heard that from different people sort of through the grapevine. And I knew it from...
Who said that? The promoter?
Different managers and promoters that I would bump into at an IGNITOR gig a Dangerous Toys gig.
Who else could it be? There's no one else. There was no one else to fill Dime shoes except Zach Wild, in my opinion.
Well, they had to get someone who was in the family.
Of course. And that's what I'm saying.
And they would still have their chops up.
That's what I'm saying.
And it was still in a working band and recognized.
Sure.
And here we are doing it.
So what's the lineup?
I love this question because... on Prepare to Die, which is an infamous record around here in San Antonio, has Art Villarreal and Bob Catlin on guitar.
Yep.
And then it's, Don and Steve and Dave.
Yep.
Right. And that's SA Slayer as people knew it for a short time. Mm-hmm. And then for whatever reason, I don't have an archived memory of when I met the SA Slayer guys. They had just gotten Ron Jarzon back to replace Art Villarreal. And Art was around. They had his own band. He had Carrion, and they played shows with SA Slayer and Watchtower all the fucking time, and they were brilliant. Mm-hmm. And that's a connection, too, because Chris Kronk, who was in Carrion, he's for a short while, I hear that he was in SA Slayer, as well as Harlan Glenn from Juggernaut sang for SA Slayer for a hot minute as well.
I didn't know that.
See this whole, I believe that to be true. Don't quote me on that because I'm only an honorary member of the San Antonio metal scene. My wife is from here. I could keep going, but honorary member is what I like to call myself. If I may, if it be okay that I say that.
For sure.
But at Hell's Heroes, just to answer your question, at Hell's Heroes, which is coming in March 2025, it will be this lineup. Don Van Stavern, Dave McClain, Art Villarreal, Bob Catlin, and Ron Jarzombek. 3 guitar players with me on vocals.
Nice.
All 3 guitars, the whole set.
Wow.
So think about this. You think about bands like Leonard Skinner and Allman Brothers and Accept, who have 3 guitar players. Iron Maiden. Why? Well, when those badass harmony solos are going, the only thing that's back there is bass guitar. And in heavy metal, not all the time and not limited to, where's the bugga underneath this?
Right.
You know, when you think about it, not to go, Beavis and Butthead on you, but yeah, dude, you want that bugga, you want that fucking gallop going under the symphonic harmonic guitars that are happening on top of it, like all those classic tunes. So I think that gig is going to be very special, because when Ron and Bob or Ron and Art go into that, we're going to have the it's going to be heavy as fuck.
I'm hoping to be out there. I'm still working it out.
Then when we go to Keep It True, it's going to be Ron and Bob, which will be the lineup that I met, Sans Steve, of course.
Right.
Rest in peace, my man. That I met when Watchtower started to play shows in San Antonio for the first time with S.A. Slayer.
Yeah.
So it's the band.
Wow.
And I love it that Art has confirmed that he will be there to play the set with us. Cause,
cool.
Dude.
It's going to be historical.
Dude. It's a metal party. 6 dudes on stage.
Any rehearsals yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. Invite me to one.
I'll see what
the guys say.
I'll see what Daddy DVS says about that. You may have to do that.
I think he likes me.
Yeah, it may be. Well, he likes me too, so maybe we're in luck.
Come on, Donnie.
Yeah.
Let me be there and shoot a little video
for
the record books.
Yeah, it's anything's possible.
Yeah.
But we got to set it up where Dave McClain's coming down from Wisconsin, where he lives now.
I know Dave McClain loves me. He's been in this.
Oh yeah, he sat right here.
He sat right there. We are.
Yeah.
And man, I remember we had to do his interview early in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I had to go. I think this was before Uber.
He's a morning guy.
I had to go pick him up.
Yeah.
And he was at this truck stop.
Okay. Yeah.
That's where they had parked
where the
for the
bus
night.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had to go. And it was far. Remember, we had to go get him. And then when we got to the truck stop was so large that we even
drive around.
Looking for him. That we finally found him. But yeah. So yeah, man. I hope all goes well there. Again.
There may be some warm-up shows around here. Yeah, so don't quote me on that.
Right.
But you heard it here first.
Yeah.
Rob's MetalWorks. Yeah.
All right. All right.
And you'll definitely need to come to that. So
I'll be there.
if you don't get invited to a rehearsal, at least there's that to look forward to.
All right, J-Man. A couple more things before I let you go.
Okay.
Kind of not about bands, but I remember last time we chatted, you referenced a few times that you wanted to do a book, Tales of a Texas Metalhead. Is that something you still want to do?
I still love that title because I can't come up with anything better.
I think that's great.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I could call it something silly like "Let the Name Dropping Begin." Let the games begin. Let the name dropping begin. Because that's all really it is. But I just feel blessed, or whatever word you want, lucky, dumb luck, whatever, to have met some people that I completely adore and have been let in the door. That rhymes. And they treated me like I was one of them. And they let me be a fanboy. And they didn't judge me because I was a fanboy until I was annoying.
Or until you became a peer.
Correct. And that's the other side of it. And I think that right there makes me want to talk about that freely and openly on in text. And our other interviews that that go with this series that we're putting a cap on here, I talk about that a little bit, about just, you know, I mean, who hasn't had a drink with Lemmy? Who hasn't, you know,
been at a Motorhead rehearsal?
Stayed out at, well, yeah, not everybody gets to go to a Motorhead rehearsal.
Who gets a phone call from James Hetfield?
You know who? Right. Well, not everybody gets a call from James Hetfield, but
and their mom doesn't.
You know who? Right. That story is fucking great. See, that's a good one for the book.
That's a great one.
That's a good one for the book. It has to be in the book. And you know, it's important, I feel like, for me anyway, to, you know, whatever, it's as stupid as it is really awesome that, you know, I think the idea of, why do you have a show? Why do I have a podcast? Why would someone want to drive in their car and listen to people just talk? You know, talk radio sounds fucking boring as fuck to me. If they're talking about something or someone involved with that something that I fell in love with when I was very young and I still have fire and passion for and about, this is the reason. I get it now. This is the reason why someone would listen or watch a podcast or a TV show or late night, because their favorite actor is going to be on, you know, Letterman or whatever. That dates me. But yeah, you know, whatever, Jimmy Fallon, whatever, you know. I think that there's something to that connection that a movie or a piece of art or a song or whatever, an artist, a creator that you adore for whatever reason, whatever attributes or accolades they have that you can relate to, that you fell in love with. I think that is enough reason for me to have the interest and want to put in the time where I'm just doing this and just talking to someone while they take it down, and we edit it together to where it comes out to be sort of a storyline somewhat in a book or an audio file or just an extensive story of my legacy, whether it be stupid or funny or, you know, just for my family members and my brothers and my friends to go, yeah, I mean, I'm going to buy Jason's book because I'm in his book. Whether he mentions me by name, he's talking about me, and that's just love. That doesn't have anything to do with they like my music at all. It's I think that it's just another way to continue a version of what you do with artists.
Did you ever interview with Dr. Gregory Peak? Does that sound familiar to you?
Anything's possible. That name does not ring a bell at the
would
moment.
Probably, you would
all
probably
apologies.
But he's a guy. He's a guy that works with UTSA and documents oral histories of San Antonio metal.
Wow.
He's the guy that actually coordinated the very first event that was at the UTSA Institute of Texan Cultures.
Okay, yeah.
Where they had all the radio people there.
Okay, yeah.
And then I did the second one.
And there was a panel.
That was the second one, yeah.
Yeah, with Larry and Don. And
But he was the one that started that whole series. But he also does these recorded oral histories of different people from the music scene. Maybe he hasn't reached out to you because technically you're from Austin. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe that's the
reason.
Well,
it's possible.
But I want to mention your name to him because I think he is someone that you should interview with and get your, you know, some of what you're doing here with him, so that because
surely he's heard
for sure.
Yeah, and
for
then
sure. He actually lives in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
But I think he went to school at UTSA, and that's how he got involved with them. But I did an interview with him, and I know he's done interviews with other people.
Okay.
But the thing that what I'm saying, you know, what he has in his court is that his interviews are part. They technically become part of the UTSA archive of Texas history.
Yeah.
Of the Texas Museum of History.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's totally legit. Totally. And even what we did at the second event.
You know, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
there's
no.
an Austin music archive as well.
Yeah, that's probably similar. Very similar.
And you can submit your music, and they have it on hand in the library in like a where you can download it at the library.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And they actually pay you royalty for it, like a flat rate, which is really, really a great program.
You have to buy it though, right?
People can go in and download it or whatever, but they pay you so they can have it available.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Whether they're giving it away or not, maybe they make it only available for a little while.
Right.
And it's probably kind of like you pay like $1 and you get a couple songs.
Right.
But I thought that was a really great way to archive Texas music, or Austin music, as it were.
For sure.
You know, I want to talk about a couple things in my book that talk about what I was kind of talking about a second ago.
Okay.
Don Van Stavern got a call from a guy in Florida. No. What's the Riot singer's name? Todd Michael Hall?
I think so.
He got a call from a guy named Ed Aborn, who's in the special thanks on Riot Fire Down Under, by the way. If you break out your Fire Down Under, you're going to see special thanks Ed Aborn. That record came out 1,000 years ago, and there's this guy, Ed Aborn, who was a kid at the time. So obviously he's in the circle. So he's a go-to guy because he knows everybody. He's a drummer in heavy metal bands his whole life in Florida. Fast forward, because I'm getting somewhere with this, and you'll dig it. He was the beginning point of how I got that Accept gig.
Mm-hmm.
He got a call from Wolf Hoffman. They're friends. Ed Aborn calls Todd Michael Hall. Nope, can't do it. Todd Michael Hall calls Don Van Stavern. Don Van Stavern, yeah, let me reach out. I'll call Jason. Hey, man, can you sing Accept? And I'm like, well, you know I can sing Accept. I fucking worship Accept.
Yeah.
So he gives me Ed Aborn. I don't recall. I've got 4 copies of Fire Down Under. I don't remember Ed Aborn's name. I probably pass over it every time I look at the liners, right? Didn't ring a bell. Anyway, called Ed Aborn. Hey, Ed, how's it going? Nice to meet you. Blah, 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 blah. Wow, this is weird. Yeah, here's the deal. Da, 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 da. I'm going to give your number to Wolf Hoffman. So Don Van Stavern is how that happened. So the network and the family that I speak of about why we do this and how incredibly incestuous in the right way, right? And tight this net actually is. And that's like those calls trickle down to Don, gets to me, and all of a sudden I'm on the phone with one of my heroes, Wolf Hoffman. I had done a cover of Accept Run If You Can in '99 with Watchtower because there was an Accept tribute album that came out. I don't know if you have that or not.
Mm-mm.
It might be on Noise Records. Can't remember. One of those German labels were doing a tribute to Accept, and they looked me up, and I called the Watchtower guys, and we did Run If You Can. Then years later, I covered Fast as a Shark with IGNITOR on the Mixtape 85 record. Well, if it weren't for those two very significant, except being an influence, for me to have those, just like, well, you have any songs you can send us just so me and the band can as a matter of fact.
I do.
You know, let me text those right to you, Mr. Hoffman. Bloop, bloop. Run If You Can and Fast as a Shark. 10 minutes later, Wolf's like, yeah, let's
got the
do it.
gig.
I'm like, can you be here tomorrow in just 6 hours? You know, I'm like, holy shit. So, and then the Armored Saint gig happened just a few months later. And that was, I've known those guys forever. And they knew that I had just done it with Accept because of social media. And so it's things like that I want to talk about, and how that, just from being a little heavy metal kid growing up listening to Elton John and Kiss and Queen and Corpus Christi, South Texas, and just kind of going up the heavy metal trail of Texas and landing in Austin with my mom. And my mom was the reason that I got up this way at age 16 or whatever. That's kind of the reason. Yeah. That's the reason I'm here.
Yeah, yeah.
So I owe a lot of shit to where I'm from and the people I met along the way.
Well, I think, too, you know.
And my family, too, support.
Your own drive and passion, you know, and, of course, your vocal talent had a lot to play with it, too. And I know you're humble about that.
Thanks for the nice words about that.
I really feel like that, bro. I really feel like that.
I feel like you may have... You said that the last time.
What?
About my voice.
Yeah.
You know, like... And it's maybe Evil United, but I think it might have been the last Igniter record. You go, dude, your vocals.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
You eating Wheaties? What are you eating for breakfast?
Well, I know you take care of yourself, and
yeah, I don't party. I'm no fun at parties. I don't partake anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't in so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And that's good, because you know how many of our friends and acquaintances have we seen fall by the wayside?
Well, and they struggle.
Just because
whether you're addicted or you're just like a casual drinker. I mean, the stuff is poison. Yeah. But I'm not your parent. Yeah. I'm not judging anybody. You know, hey man, I like spirits. My spirits are not the same kind of spirit.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's
it's shit like this is a spirit, and that's what I want to talk about in a book. And to answer the question about a book, I'm about to sign the deal. Yeah, Rare Bird is the publishing company there. There's an interesting story that it's an another one I'm not fucking worthy moment, which is another thing. It's like, wow, how did this happen?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not worthy. It's seriously that is, and it's just a story. It's just a fucking story. But I'm in love with this whole thing so much. I get emotional talking about it. Do you know who Joel McIver is? He writes books about. He wrote Guns N' Roses, and he wrote Duff McKagan's book, and he's this badass journalist that writes all these biographies and yeah. But he does all kinds of shit. His name's Joel McIver. I bet he's in your collection. If you have any books about rock stars and shit, you've got a book that's written by Joel McIver. Anyway, so Rare Bird is looking at me and the idea, and it was their idea to do it. I didn't even try to sell them the idea. It's like, I've talked about writing a book with many people, but nothing. It was false hopes, and the idea of just me blabbing in text and telling all the stories, the campfire stories that, the name dropping, interesting that just to, within the 4 years of the last time we hung out and talked about my shit, that about a year ago, I played the whiskey with the Toys, and a friend of mine was there who works for this publisher. And he goes, I was just talking to this guy who owns Rare Bird Publishing, and he's a fan of yours. The main guy, he's a fan. And he knows about Watchtower. He knows about all of your shit. And he is, sees you after all these years, legitimately knew my powers. That feels weird calling him that, but you know what I mean?
Sure.
And he's going, man, it would be really cool to like put out his book. And this friend of mine who's at the show is texting me all of this story, and I'm just like, wait a minute, what? So all these dots just go and become a solid staff.
He probably saw our interview talking about the book.
But he didn't. That's the fucked up shit. I was telling them about Rob's MetalWorks Legacy series and how I had just gone through all of these stories with you. And he was like, really? Oh, well, we'll use those to fact check and archive and blah, 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 blah. I told them, write this down, Rob's MetalWorks, San Antonio, go to the website, or go to the YouTube channel, whatever the fuck, just get any information, Rob's MetalWorks, Jason McMaster, and just use that as your drop and your starting point. I swear, your outline is already written.
It's already there.
And they were like, oh my God, yeah, we have to do that. Let me finish the Joel McIver story. Because the guy's like a god in the business of rock and roll biographies, okay? Right. He gets a call from the publisher. Hey, man, I got this guy, Jason McMaster. And the fact that someone's selling me to Joel McIver is like, oh, my God. Joel's like, yeah, I think I know who that guy is. And, you know, let me think about it. Da-da-da-da. So a couple of days after that, I don't know how long, a week, 2 minutes, 2 hours, I don't know. Joel McIver knows who a guy, you know who Jeff Wagner is?
That name sounds
He's
familiar.
another sort of band biographer. He wrote the Peter Steele book. Mm-hmm. He wrote the Fates Warning book, which has pictures of Cyrus and shit in it because of Ray Alder's from here. And he was in Cyrus and Roulette and all this. So there's this big Texas. He mentions Watchtower throughout the book. He's finishing up the Voivod book. So he loves progressive weirdo metal, right? I just mentioned Fates Warning, Peter Steele from Typo Negative, and
Voivod.
Yeah, Voivod. So he wrote a book maybe 10 years or more called Mean Deviation, 40 Years of Progressive Metal. And Watchtower's on like every 10th page. As well as King Diamond and Metallica with Injustice for All and Where They Were, A Merciful Fate. But he goes into Pink Floyd and, of course, Dream Theater. And I got hooked up with Jeff Wagner through that book via Mike Portnoy, who's one of the biggest Watchtower fans ever. And so I was interviewed by, and it may have been from Mike Portnoy through Ron Jarzambek and that trifecta of how it all got hooked up, because Ron's all over that book, Mean Deviation. I think it's out of print right now, but it's such a badass book. And Rush is in there. You know, he talks about just all the weirdo and shit that, Crack the Sky, all this weird 70s proggy strange shit that's kind of proto-prog metal. It's arguable because I think Rush created prog metal. They were heavy. They were still rock and roll, but it was heavy and it was weird. It was like they took the Led Zeppelin and the Yes and they put it in a blender and made it faster and weirder and screamy. And anyway, so Joel McIver gets back with the publisher and goes, "Have you ever heard of a guy named Jeff Wagner?" And he goes, "Oh, I don't know. It sounds." This is the publisher answering Joel McIver. Maybe. But, give me his contact and I'll take it from here. So the publisher emails me and goes, so Joel McIver, and I'm just seeing Joel McIver and go, what the fuck? Joel McIver suggests this guy named Jeff Wagner do your book. And then I saw Jeff Wagner and I'm like, I just had him on my podcast. I just vomited all over the publisher going, Jeff Wagner, I had him on my podcast. He wrote about Watchtower and Mean Deviation. He's doing the Voivod book. He sent me the Peter Steele.
So
I
he
know
didn't have
Jeff
to sell
Wagner.
you on it. He was like, yeah, you already know
It's a
him.
match made in heavy metal heaven.
Wow. So he's going to do the book.
Jeff Wagner.
Wow.
Who I have mad respect for because he knows his shit and he loves the same shit.
Yeah, and he already knows some of your history.
All of it.
Yeah.
All of it. And he's raring to fucking go with this idea that was spawned not that long prior to our first interview. When
do you anticipate that this book might come?
It could take, this sounds fucked up, but it could take years.
Yeah. but it's in the works.
Because it has to be edited.
Yeah, yeah,
It has
yeah.
to be.
Yeah, yeah.
It has to be set up right.
Yeah.
But if you look up Jeff Wagner's body of work with these books that I've mentioned, they're fucking primo.
I'm gonna check them out.
They just feel good.
Yeah,
Down to the ink they're using,
Yeah.
down to the cover, the way the cover feels, all of that shit.
That matte
he's got that in mind for the product.
He probably doesn't need to look at our interviews because he already knows a lot of that stuff.
Oh, I told him, yeah,
check it out
You got to
anyway.
at least go through it and go, wow, I didn't know that.
I don't know about
Just
the
to
James Hetfield story.
Connect some of the dots. Some of it he does, and some of it he doesn't.
All right, my man.
Yeah.
Let's end out because you've given our show accolades and Bobby's podcast accolades. I want to talk about your podcast because you've kind of mentioned it a couple of times.
Yeah.
Talk Louder that you do with Metal Dave. I've seen some of y'all's guys' stuff, and you guys stay pretty fucking busy. And you
It's
guys
so
are
fun.
delivering so many cool ass names on your show. So talk a little bit about how the podcast kind of idea came to fruition, and was that something that you and Dave had been talking about for a long time, or?
COVID,
Yeah. There you go.
right? So there's
Double-edged sword of COVID.
all of a sudden there's some downtime, but people are forced to be creative,
Right.
or they finally have time to finish the record, or put out a record that never came out, or all the things we've been talking about today.
Right.
Jared Tootin
Uh-huh.
basically gets us on a three-way. It's not how it happened, but we're all in a text or an email thread, right? Jared's like, what about a podcast? And we're like, what's a podcast? Just dumb as hell. Green, don't know. I mean, of course I knew what a podcast was, but
Right.
I don't listen to I don't give a fuck about podcast. I don't, like I said, unless Gene Simmons is talking about Kiss in 73, I'm not, you know what I mean?
Right,
If it's
right.
something I gotta hear, what? Gene's talking about what?
Right.
Or that's maybe a bad example or a perfect example. That sounds dumb. What is that going to be about? Hear me out. Jared's like, hear me out. You know how when you and Metal Dave are at a party or at a show and you guys are, congregated in the hallway and you guys start talking about Motorhead or whatever, and you start nerding out and you guys' hearts rate goes up and you guys start getting into it and excited about rock and roll. You know that? And me and Dave were like, oh, fuck yeah. Because me and Dave are tight and we love the same shit. And I like a lot of darker stuff than he does. He's more of a rock and roll guy. That's why it's funny that he's Metal Dave and he likes punk rock and glammy stuff and sleaze rock and punk. His favorite band is like the Ramones and then Aerosmith. You know what I mean?
Right.
But he loves metal. He loves Fugitive and Power Trip
Yeah.
and he loves metal.
Yeah.
But Celtic Frost, probably not so much. Understands, yeah, but I'm the Celtic Frost guy.
And
So
Venom
you see
guy.
my point, right? Yeah. So Jared brings that up, and you know how you guys are at a party and you start nerding out,
Yeah.
and you either scare people away or you draw them all in, and by 30 minutes into it, you've got 10 people in on your conversation, hanging around the coffee table, just shooting the shit with you about something you guys started. That is a podcast. And we were both like, oh, far out. Cool. Yeah, that's easy as fuck, and high five and all this shit. So we do one, maybe two episodes. And then we're all with Jared and, me and Dave and Jared. And me and Dave are like, hey, that was fun. Cool. What are you going to, I'll have fries with that. And Jared's like, no, wait. You got to think like 150 episodes. And we went, wait, what? What? We didn't understand that it would be like a publication.
Yeah. Right.
And now I get it. 200 episodes later.
Wow.
I get it.
Wow.
I get it. We're going on our fourth year. And it was COVID. It was the lockdown. It was an idea that we had nothing to lose. There was our early episodes are pretty fucking funny for us to watch because you don't know what microphone Dave's going to have or how it's going to sound or how like uncomfortable we look. And some of the episodes I'm like leaning back, like I'm like, fuck this shit. You know, I'm just like laying down with my microphone and stuff in my chair. And since then I've kind of, you know, it's fairly consistent now, but we're super comfortable now. And there was some awkward moments. We had to get Dave some gear. There was learning curves because neither of us are techie. We're Beavis and Butthead, man. We don't know shit.
Right.
But the cool thing is, he's a real journalist.
Yeah.
He's interviewed the biggest fucking names in rock and roll.
Yep.
Pick one. He's interviewed them. Mm-hmm. David Bowie, David Lee Roth, Ozzy, Lemmy, multiple times. Rob Halford. You want me to keep going? I'll keep going. It's like it's crazy, dude. So he ran out of notches on his belt. This idea has been waiting for Metal Dave to catch up. Mm-hmm. He's the real journalist. So his name is already on a list because he writes for publications and whatever, right? He's on the guest list already.
He has the network and the connections.
He's got well, I want to talk about that kind of too, but his name shows up on all of the PR lists. Mm-hmm. So, you know, hey, Billy Sheehan's got the new Talus record coming out. You want to? And we're like, fuck yeah. But it's on there. Dave is on a lot of people's radar already because he's a journalist. So we get some cool shit that way. But I want to say that, and I'm not saying that I started it, but I started reaching out to people on Facebook. Hey, man, it's Jason McMaster. We haven't met, but, you know, it'll be some rock star who's got a Facebook page that I see their name all the fucking time. Instagram, whatever, I'll reach out. That's how I got Todd Latore on there. I didn't go through a PR firm.
Right.
He posted, and he just runs his own socials, and I'm like, dude, I just saw you fucking rule opening for Priest in Cedar Park, Texas.
But he knows who you are.
I don't know that, Rob.
I don't know that. People would.
Okay, I'm not even playing the humble card. I don't know that. I don't fucking know that. So I'm going, dude, I just saw you. You know, you don't know me. I think I've even started with that. You don't know me, but I just saw you just crush it, dude. Your voice, oh my God. I'm late to your version of Queensryche. This is the shit. Oh my God. And I had already done 3 cruises with Queensryche with him singing on board. Stood next to him in the food line, didn't know him from fucking Adam. Saw him live finally and was like, holy crap, now we're bros. Anyway, the point, I reached out. He gave me his number. He goes like, I know who you are. He was in the studio with Zeus. You know that producer who does Shadows Fall and fucking everybody now, that producer guy? He says Todd told the story on the Talk Louder podcast. He goes, yeah, dude, I'm in the studio with Zeus. And
was he doing a solo record?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And he's doing he's like, oh, fucking Jason McMaster just hit me up on the Instagram. And Zeus turns around and is like, yeah, that's the Watchtower. That's the Dangerous Toys dude. That's the dude. Yeah, man, that guy's rad. And Todd was like, oh, hit me right back and gave me his number. And it's like, see,
that's what I'm saying.
That's that. So that was easy to get Todd because he's a whore like me.
And if Lemmy was still alive, you'd probably be able to get Lemmy.
It's highly possible. I had the dude's phone number.
I tell all these cats, these young cats that come through these doors, I tell them, man, you know, and you talked about it, but, you know, it's all about relationships, bro. It's all about relationships.
Yeah, and there's a way to do it, and there's a way to not do it.
Right.
There's a lot of really good podcasters out there. Now that I have my own and I'm 4 years in, it's like there's a lot of really good shit.
Yeah.
And they're put together by people who are these super nerdy, unassuming, straight-looking dudes.
Yeah.
That are really good, and they have, you know, 100,000 subscribers. I'm like, how does your, you know, I've got 2,000. After 4 years in, I've got 2,000. How are you? And he's like, I don't know. I just do this for fun, and maybe it's the way. Maybe it's just something that's going on here, and maybe maybe I'm just the way I carry it. I don't know. It's very unassuming, but they see my numbers and they sign right up, and I'm going,
sure.
I don't have that power. It's just me and Metal Dave. But I swear, if like Rob Halford took the time to watch an episode where we interviewed Graham Bonnet or Ripper Owens, weirdly enough, and he would be like, or Wolf Hoffman or whatever, he would be like, oh, okay, these guys are cool, and they're fans, legit, and they know, and they're respectful, and maybe a couple of thousand people are going to watch me on their show, and I can help them help Judas Priest or me or whatever I'm my book or whatever, because I fantasized about having Rob Halford on the show when he had those books coming out, because I was in the middle of reading them. I was like, oh my God, I want to talk to him about this. Oh shit, in this chapter I want to talk to him about that, and hadn't happened. So Rob Halford, if you're watching Rob's MetalWorks right now, I love you.
I remember many years ago, I think it was in 2008, around that time, we interviewed Halford, Tipton, and KK.
Unbelievable.
At the Verizon Wireless, yeah. And I remember Dio was rocking around, and you know who else was there? Lemmy was there.
Was Testament on that show?
Yeah, I believe so.
I have a giant wall poster of that plastic shit, like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
I have it. It's like, it might fit on that wall.
Yeah.
It would cover your ceiling.
Yeah.
I have that from that gig.
Yeah.
It was called Masters of Metal Tour.
I believe so.
Yep.
Halford
I was there.
All of those dudes are very nice guys.
Yes.
Super nice guys.
But anyway, so me hitting people up just on socials, or if I have their phone number in my phone already, like, if I call Wolf Hoffman, hey man, when are you going to do my podcast? He's like,
exactly.
You got to go through the PR.
So that's bullshit.
No, but it's not. But I understand that. But, Mark Tornillo, who's also in Accept.
Yeah.
Wolf's trying to do everything by management because he's paying them.
Sure.
They're getting, it's legit.
Sure.
And we did, and it was great, and he was fucking great, and he's such a...
So you got Tornillo.
But Tornillo's been on a couple times.
Okay.
Because I can just text him right now and go, bro, what's up? Because we're, that dude is a legend and just salt of the fucking earth.
Cool.
That dude just turned like 70-something years old. 70. He's 70.
Doesn't look that old.
Dude, he works out and eats right. He's fit, dude. He's a rail. And you watch videos, he's a monster.
Wow. I didn't know that.
He's perfect in Accept. It's fucking great.
Nice.
Yeah, so I don't like how I got to meet Mark, because I was already a fan of his.
Sure.
With the TT Quick record,
right.
from, which is 40 years ago. That's forever ago. It's a lifetime ago. When he was 20, 25, one of the first bands, TT Quick, on Megaforce Records. One of the very first bands on Megaforce Records. That's something right there. So friends with Johnny Z, Jersey guy. Yep. Nice. Crazy, right? Stories all day.
Yeah, I watch y'all's stuff, man, and it seems like you guys stay pretty busy and are pretty consistent, and that's cool, man.
Yeah.
I like to see you guys doing that.
Thank you for that. And I could say that, programs like this have sort of like been like right? Kind of an afterthought. Yeah. Maybe not going into like, what are we going to do? Because we were just winging it. Right. Sometimes our gear didn't work. We had to start over, whatever. Sure. But, the topics that we have are similar to what you have here.
Yeah.
And so I'd be lying if I didn't say there's some sort of influence, right, from programs like this. So thank you to all of the underground people who are not doing this for money,
right?
Who just do it because they love metal and they like to celebrate this.
Sure.
And the power of the riff.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
The power of the fucking riff.
That's it.
And I there's, like I keep saying, I'm not a fan of a lot of podcasts. You know, I don't sit around and listen to fucking podcasts, even though I have one. Mm-hmm. But the way to learn is to be taught. You can figure it out on your own and come up with your own way to do it. But I really think that there's some aha moments, even though maybe some won't admit it, by going to a show and watching the pro do it.
Sure.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Sure.
So yeah, we love it, and thank you for the plugs, and you've said enough nice things to last a lifetime about Talk Louder and all of my projects.
It's only going to get better, man. It's only going to get better. Thank you so much, Jason.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I know.
Thanks for pushing the new igniter, man.
Oh man, I love it, dude. I'm a fan of it.
Thank you.
So maybe after the holidays we can get Batlord back over here and
sure,
and Robert Williams over here, and we could talk about this record.
I want to
the way it should be.
I want to watch an episode of Rob's Metalworks with Rob and Batlord together. I want to watch that.
Why do you say that?
Oh man, well Rob's a fucking nut. And Stewart is just like too smart for his own mouth.
Right.
You know, he says some crazy ass shit.
Right.
But that would be fun.
It's happened before.
With both of them?
Yeah. For Texas Metal Outlaws.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Was it on Zoom or was it in person?
It was in person.
Where'd you go to do
Zooms.
it?
I don't do Zooms.
Where'd you go do it at?
They came here.
Really?
Yes, sir. Look it up.
Okay,
look it up.
I will. All right.
And you know what? I remember it was an interesting
There's
chat.
something else, those guys together.
Oh, man.
So they hang out together. I've heard through the grapevine they're forming a side project, a spin-off of Igniter. It's not, it's not going to sound like Igniter.
Yeah.
There's a new band. Those guys, those two knuckleheads are going to go form another metal band.
Man.
Because they have riffs that didn't get used
right.
on the new Igniter record. So why the fuck not?
Why not? Why
I love
let
it.
them go to
I love
waste?
it.
Well, thank you so much, Jason. What a pleasure to end out our Legacy series interview and giving us all the scoop. And I feel that, with all the hours in front of our camera that we've had together today and in 2020, that I have really gotten some great stories and insight from you that I don't think I've ever seen anywhere else. So thank you for giving me all that. I was telling Thomas as we prepared today, I said, you're a lucky man. You're going to have the tripod today. I don't know if you recall last time when we talked for like 4 hours, he didn't have a tripod. I don't know if you remember that or not. He suffered. But
I do. That's coming back now. Why didn't you have a tripod?
I don't know if we didn't have one. And then I was.
That's murder, man. You
Yeah.
hurt yourself.
And then I was watching.
Well, it's appreciated.
If you watch some of those videos, you hear fucking birds chirping in the background.
Yeah.
Because the fucking garage door.
Well, we had you know who our guest was? A bottle of hand sanitizer was our guest that day.
What a time. But nonetheless, got some great stuff. So everyone out there, hope you enjoyed this long conversation today and got some really insight on the history of the man and all of his endeavors. His brand new record with Igniter is out, Horns and Hammers. Be sure to look for it. And then all the other things that the man keeps himself busy with. You saw Jason McMaster only right here on Rob's Metalworks.